One of the most powerful features of the Meahana platform is the ability to take individual activities, such as a brainstorm, and combine that with another activity in what we call an activity set, where you're going to move the ideas from one activity into the next. For example, you may ideate first by doing a brainstorm, and then do some kind of evaluation activity, such as categorizing those items, doing some kind of a gap ranking, or a quantitative matrix where you want to visualize those ideas on a 2x2 matrix. All of these activity sets are available for you and in the catalog. I want to give you just a quick preview and illustration of what a couple of these look like in practice for you to take to heart and hopefully try out in your role. Oftentimes, after you've done a healthy brainstorm of thinking about initiatives, in this case from 3 to 6 months from now, we want to prioritize the noise and start to think about which one should we do now, do later, maybe even do never. So we're going to go into a new type of activity called categorizing items. And actually on this one, what's nice about this is when we open up the voting, you'll see that we can actually start to decide based upon each initiative, should we do this now, do this soon, or don't do. Individually, each person is going through and doing these ratings. On the back side, you'll start to see the aggregate ratings and actually an opportunity for you as the leader in this case to decide where these things should be categorized. So I'll just pop these things through pretty quickly. I'm sure you're doing the same. At the end, you get the grade, you rated all the items. They actually start off all in this not categorized space. And if you start to click into any of these items, you'll start to see where we had some alignment. They're going to start to move over. But more importantly, if you click into, let's say, improving SEO, you can see here that 100% of us actually were aligned on that, so we can set that one to that category. And on the presentation screen, if we can just keep going through the rest of these, you'll notice that for some of these, we actually had some disagreement. There we had to do soon at 50% from our group. Half of us thought we don't do this, so we have to sort of tie break. Maybe it's a show of hands, it's a thumbs up, etc. But we do need to make a decision. And as we start to move everything from not categorized into different colors, we're going to start to get consensus and alignment around sort of a prioritization approach of those initiatives. Oftentimes, after you've come up with a list of initiatives, one of the ideas you might want to decide is how important are these? How easy are they? How difficult are they to implement? What's the value to the organization? So one activity I'd like to introduce is what we call the gap ranking. Essentially a contrast against two different dimensions. When you get to this activity, when we open up the input, the initiatives that you put on your phone that were pulled forward will show up on the top, and you actually see ease of implementation rating up on the top from a 1 to 10. And as we start to put our ratings in, you're going to start to see the gap metrics show up on the screen. And I'll just go ahead and rate these quickly across the 4 that we have. And when you get to, of course, the end, you're going to see that your team and your average ratings are kind of showing up at the top. Impact being quite high. This one obviously has a lower gap than we see across some of these other ones. You'll notice across the board, if you click into any of these on the presentation screen, you can actually start to see some of the difference of opinions that we have in terms of the scores. You'll see Nathan thought the impact was quite high for improving SEO. We obviously had Keely and Roy K doing a couple of different spins on that, but the average gap obviously comes from everybody in your organization pulling that together. Lastly, when you have a nice brainstorm item of initiatives, whether you prioritize them over 3 to 6 months, you've looked at them on a gap ranking, you may want to plot them on a matrix visually to start to look at what's the value of this versus is it easy to implement. On any matrix ranking, you'll notice that they pop up on your phone. You can evaluate each one similar to the gap ranking. In this particular case, you're going to start to see them now plot out on the map. You'll see that we've named the quadrants, don't do, or do now in green, do next in blue, don't do in red, and do later. As your team members start to add their own ratings, those items are going to move around, of course, across the screen. And what we're looking for here in this particular case are the things that are of high value and are easy to implement. These items in the top green, like analyzing customer feedback or training sales teams on consultative selling techniques. If you click on any of these items sort of on the screen, you'll notice again that you can see the distribution of the scores and the average ratings and the gap between some of you and your team members. We find that this is a really good way to get alignment across the organization around what are some of the things that we should do now in a really egalitarian way.